الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له واشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى أهله ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We give praise and thanks to Almighty Allah. We ask Him to shower His blessing upon the noblest of mankind, the last and the chief of the prophets and Rusul, may Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, members of his household, his family, his companions, and all those who have stood, are standing, and will come to stand on this path of Sirat al-Mustaqim, Islam. Alhamdulillah, we have not ceased to be treating the book Az-zakaat fi-l-Islaam fi-Dh-Dhawi-l-Kitaab was-Sunnah, Az-zakaat in Islam in the light of the Qur'an and the Hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by Sheikh Sa'id ibn Ali ibn Wahf ibn Wahf ibn Muhammad Al-Qahtaani, the author of the popular book Hisnu-l-Muslim. He also wrote this book as well as a couple of other books, rahimahullah. Alhamdulillah, we are in Kitabu, the section on Urud al-Tijara. We are in the section, the bab of Urud al-Tijara, trade goods, the things that we trade in, that we buy and sell and generate revenue or income from. So last week we took a couple of things on it. Can someone remind us what we took last week? Barakallahu feekum. Can someone remind us? Mr. Jala. Mr. Jala. Madam Bashir.
We talked about the basis of the Sharia with regards to the use of gold and silver. We said it depends on the situation, but the standard is it's mustahab, which means it's whatever. If someone loves something, then mustahab, it's enjoined on people to do.
What is that?
Yes.
What is that?
The basis of wearing gold and silver in the life of
That, it's separate for the genders. For the males, that which is mustahab is silver, whereas for the female, both gold and silver are permissible for them. So they are both not mustahab, mubah.
Mubah.
So the default ruling on gold and silver for females is that it is mubah, it is permissible. For the men, for the males, the basic ruling, the default ruling is that silver is permissible, mubah, for them, and gold is haram for them.
No.
The meaning of mubah is that it is permissible. That is in translation in the Arabic meaning. Many of these terms, when the scholars discuss them, they will give us the meaning linguistically. So the linguistic meaning of mubah is that something is permissible for us to do. The technical meaning, the scholars will also follow it up. The linguistic meaning, they'll follow it up with the technical meaning. So the technical meaning of mubah is something that if we do or we do not do, there's no reward, there's no punishment attached to it. So this is the default with respect to as we have explained it. Now, when anything is said to have a ruling like this, it is that thing independent of the person and the situation. So if you now add the context of the person and the situation, then that thing for that person in that situation can now change. The ruling can now change from mustahab to mubah. From mubah to mustahab. Or even, wajib, or haram, or makruh, as the case may be. So one other thing that we touched about, barakallahu fikum, was, that which is haram for the ben, like gold, can be used in cases of darura. The scholars will say, ad-darura tubihu al-ma'dhurat. That which is darura makes permissible that which is ma'dhur. Ma'dhur is another name for haram. Plural of ma'dhur is ma'dhurat. So ad-darura tubihu al-ma'dhurat. That which is darura, their necessity, that which threatens life or limb or well-being, it makes permissible that which is haram if the conditions of darura are met. If the permission of permitting that haram will be met. The reason for this ruling is that Islam has come to preserve a couple of things: one's life, one's intellect, one's life. That's why killing one another is haram. Abortion is haram. Two, one's intellect. That's why khamr is haram. One's honor. That is why backbiting and slander is haram. One's wealth. That's why stealing and other forms of taking people's wealth, like taxation and things like that, are haram. Talk about life. Life, goes along with limb. Life, and limb. We talked about intellect. We talked about one's honor, and we talked about which other one now. Then there is slip my mind now. So these are some of the things that Islam has come to protect one's deen, very key. Islam comes to protect one's deen. This is why ridda is haram. This is why if somebody calls someone who is not a Muslim, who is not a kafir, then that word goes back to him, and things like this. So these are 5 things that Islam comes to protect. So limb is one of them. So in the hadith that we talked about, the companion who lost in the days of Jahiliyyah, before accepting Islam, before Islam came, he lost his nose, and the other prosthetics that he used, including silver, did not avail him. They don't stop the decay process. So his skin was reacting to it. So the Prophet ﷺ asked him to use gold. The Prophet ﷺ asked him to use gold. So that was where the knowledge got to then. So today, where you have other, advances, when you have advances in many places, in medicine that will allow like skin graft and all that to be done, then the gold will no longer meet the rules of darura. It will no longer meet the rules of darura. One of the rules of darura is that that thing that you want to use will do the job, and 2, there is no substitute that is better. So once a substitute that is better is available, then that one will no longer be permissible. Like for instance, someone is in the desert and he sees and is hungry to the point where he fears that he will die. He sees a pig, a live pig. So it is permissible for him to kill it and take the meat and eat what will take that condition away, that fear of dying away. It was permitted because of the fear of dying, not because of hunger. So once he eats enough to take the fear of dying away, then it becomes haram for him to eat more than that. He can't eat to satisfaction. So if he takes a bite of the pork and he now looks and he finds a dead sheep, then that pork becomes haram for him to take any more of. Because yes, an animal that dies on its own is haram for us. It's one of the things that Allah says is haram for us. حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةَ. Al-mayta is a dead animal. Surah Al-Imran. Ma'idah. So it is haram. Likewise, khinzir is one of the things that is also haram. Pork. So, but the level of being haram are different. The sheep, when it was alive, was halal. It became haram because of the means of its death, not its death. Because when you kill, you don't eat sheep alive. You kill them, slaughter them in the halal way, and you eat them. So it's not haram because when it was alive, it wasn't haram. Dying didn't make it haram. What made it haram was the path to dying. It died on its own. It wasn't slaughtered in the Islamic way. Whereas the pig, whether it was slaughtered the Islamic way or not, it is haram in and of itself. When it was alive, it was haram in and of itself. So the sheep will have the dead sheep will have precedence over the pork. So the same thing will apply to the use of gold or any other thing that is haram, as a prosthetic, if something better than it becomes available at one's location and one can get it. Now, so barakallahu fikum. So alhamdulillah, let us, we started last week with Urud at-Tijara. Urud at-Tijara, from Arada, to display, Ma'arid, one who displays something, Ma'arad, something that is displayed. Urud is also something that is displayed. And of course, when you go anywhere to buy in the shops, they display, the things. So these urud are, of two types. Urud, things that are, physically displayed, that we own. These are called urud al-qinya, our personal belongings. Your house, they are visible, they are on display on the streets. Your car, your clothes, all these things are personal effects. So the urud al-qinya are not the things that are subject to zakah. Based on the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, ليس في ليس على المسلم ليس زكاة على مسلم في فرسه وعبده. There's no, أو كما قال, there's no zakah on the horse and the slave of a Muslim. There's no zakah on the horse and the slave of a Muslim. The scholars extended this, looked at the reason behind this, and they saw that these are personal effects of the Muslim. So therefore, they extended it to other personal effects. So there's no zakah on that, based on that hadith. So what about the other type of urud? That is urud at-tijara. The things, physical things that are displayed that we trade in. There is ijma' of the scholars that there is zakah on urud at-tijara. There is zakah on urud at-tijara. Now, there are a few of the scholars, rahimahumullah, who oppose this position of ijma'. So that's one of the things we brought our attention to last week, that we need to know the positions of those who oppose it, to be able to know which position is correct. And also, when we are discussing with someone who holds the incorrect position, then we know how to engage in the discussion. We first of all know that, okay, this person, they are people of Ahl-Sunnah wa Jama'ah who hold this position, first of all. So it's not a heretic position. And two, we know how to discuss, the discussion, discuss the topic with them in order to convince them of our position. So that is what we'll do today. So the Sheikh, rahimahullah, last week, when we were looking at his book, he started presenting evidences from the Quran, about urud al-tijara, to establish the position that urud al-tijara is zakatable, there's zakah on it. And he was bringing general evidences, and we used that opportunity to tell us that two things. One, when the scholars are bringing evidences for a topic, they usually like to start from the general and now cone into the specific. So if that is, the general lays the foundation, but it is subject to rebuttal, because general does not say specifically, does not speak specifically to the topic. Rather, it speaks to the topic and other things. So you can't say that it is a specific evidence for that specific topic. So they start with that and go to the specific evidences. And of course, these evidences also, apart from moving from general to specific, both the general and the specific have to be sahih. They have to be authentic. So today, inshallah, we'll be looking first at the discussion from an article in Islam Q&A. It brought some of these things together, so I thought it would be nice to go through it together. The topic is al-adillatu ala wujubi zakah fi urud al-tijara. The evidences for the establishment of zakah on trade goods. The question goes, ma hiya adillatu ala wujubi zakah? What is the evidence that zakah is compulsory fi urud al-tijara, in trade goods or on trade goods? لأني سمعت أن هناك من العلماء من أنكر وجوب زكاة فيها. Because I've heard that there are some scholars who frown at saying or imposing, they frown at imposition of zakah on urud al-tijara. So they say, Alhamdulillah. ذهب جماهير العلماء. The vast majority of the ulama, منهم الأئمة الأربع, from amongst them, the four popular leaders of the four popular school of thoughts, that is Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Abu Hanifa, Malik, and Shafi'i. Abu Hanifa, Malik, Shafi'i, wa Ahmad, rahimahumullah, ila wujubi zakah fi urud al-tijara. They say that it is compulsory, wujub, wajib. So they say that it is compulsory to pay zakah on urud al-tijara. So jamahir of Ahlul Ilm. So this they started from that, knowing that yes, there's Imam Ibn Mundhir in his book Al-Ijma' say that there is ijma' on this topic, but there are also a few scholars who hold a contrary opinion. So that's why instead of saying that there's ittifaq, it says jamahir, the vast majority of the scholars hold this opinion. وقد استدلوا على ذلك بأدلة كثيرة من الكتاب والسنة وأقوال الصحابة. The vast majority of the scholars, they support their position that says that paying zakah on trade goods is compulsory, with evidences, a lot of evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and the statements of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. فَمِنْ هَذِهِ الْأَدِلَّةِ, from these evidences there are 7 listed here. قوله تعالى, starting with the general evidences. Allah says in his book, Al-Qur'an al-Kareem, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, all those of you who have believed, أنفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم, spend out of that which you have earned. Spend out of that, which you have earned. We told us last week that Imam Mujahid, one Tabi'i, one of the great Mufassirun, he said, Ma kasabtu, what you have earned is what you have earned through trading. This is what it means. So therefore, urud al-tijara, what this is referring to. Not only other scholars added to that what you produce, not only trading, but what you produce and things like that. Sana'a. Wa mimma akhrajna lakum min al-ard, and that which we have extracted for you from the earth. So this will include farm produce, crops, as well as ores that we extract from the earth. Your gold, your silver, your crude oil, your diamond, all those things that you coal, all that you extract from the earth. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 267. قال مجاهد نزلت في تجارة. Now, وعن Samra, so that's the first evidence, is a general one. And the part that concerns or the tijara is spend. That's this spending here is spend compulsorily. It's anfiqu, it's a command. So it's talking about compulsory spending. That is the interpretation. But anfiqu could be compulsory spending. It could also be voluntary spending. So that's why it is general. So ma kasabatum, Imam Mujahid and others, a number of other scholars say that it is with reference to a tijara. So that's where urud at-tijara comes in. The second hadith that supports, that is used by the majority of scholars to support their position that urud at-tijara is zakatable. وعن سمرة ibn Jundub رضي الله عنه قال, from Samra ibn Jundub, he said, إن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يأمرنا, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم used to command us أن نخرج صدقة من الذي نعد للبيع, that he used to command us to give sadaqah, that is zakah, من الذي نعد للبيع. Rahu Abu Dawud. Imam Abu Dawud narrated it. وحسنه Ibn Abdul Bar. Imam Ibn Abdul Bar said that it is Hasan. Sheikh Al-Albani in Irwa al-Galil, his book Al-Irwa, he said it is Da'if. And a number of other scholars, في إسناده جهالة. وقال النووي في المجموع, Imam al-Nawawi also says it's Da'if. في إسناده جماعة لا أعرف حالهم. So there are a number of people in the chain of transmission whose condition I do not know. Knowing the condition of people in the chain of transmission of hadith is key to the authentication of the hadith. Are they trustworthy people? Are they people who have good memory in reporting what they have heard and things like that? So so this hadith of Samra cannot be used as evidence that the Prophet ﷺ used to command us to extract sadaqah from what we trade in, from what we're dedicated to trading in. So no evidence in that. Number 3, so we are left with the Quran. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu anfiqu min tayyibati ma kasabtum, which is general. So we'll go to number 3. وروى الدرقطني, إمام الدرقطني وإمام الحاكم عن أبي ذر رضي الله عنه, narrated from Abu Dhar رضي الله عنه, قال, he said, سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, I heard the messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم saying, في الإبل صدقتها, in camels there is its sadaqah, i.e. there is its zakah, i.e. zakah is incumbent if you own camels. And of course we know this is 5 camels and above. Anything less than 5, there isn't. There's a fima duna khamsati dudin min al-ibli sadaqah. There's no sadaqah or anything less than 5 camels, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said. وفي الغنم صدقتها, in sheep and goats there is also zakat to be paid. وفي البقرة صدقتها, in cows there's sadaqah to be paid. وفي البز صدقتها, and in al-baz there is sadaqah. So what is al-baz? Al-baz is thiyab aw na'u minha. It is clothing or a type of clothing. Clothing generally or a type of clothing. So this hadith says that there is, sadaqah, there is zakah on it. The only way that this hadith can be reconciled with another hadith, the hadith that there is no ليس على المسلم زكاة في عبده وفي فرسه وعبده. There's no zakah on a Muslim with respect to his horse and his slave, that the scholars extrapolated to include all personal effects. This extrapolation of the scholars, there is no way the only way that it will not conflict with this hadith is to understand it that this baz is the baz, this baz is the baz that is dedicated for tijara. This clothing are clothes that are dedicated for tijara. So it will remove it from personal effects, which the hadith, the extrapolation from the hadith, that there is no zakah on the horse and the slave of a Muslim, speak to. So once that is taken that way, then there'll be no conflict. However, despite that, and despite what Sahahahu al-Nawawi fi-l-Majmu' in his book Al-Majmu' of Sheikh Imam al-Nawawi, he said that it is authentic. However, the vast majority of scholars that we looked at, if we follow this link, they say that it is not authentic, it is da'if. So again, we cannot use that as evidence. So we're still left with the ayah of the Quran. All you who have believed, spend out of the good things that you have earned and that which we have extracted for you from the earth. And it is general. So we move on. فهذا الحديث. So the that it is da'if is the position of is what all these things that are all these evidence that have been brought. The nature, two things are used by the few scholars who say that there's no zakah on urud al-tijara. One is that these evidences that you are bringing are general evidences, ma kasabtum, the things that you earn. So if I engage in services and I earn, from that, it's earning. If I, plant vegetable, it's earn, and I sell them, it's earning. They are earnings even before selling them. If they come out of the, earth and they are ripe for harvesting, they are things that I've earned. And we all agree, well, not all of us, the majority of the scholars agree that there's no zakah on vegetable. Imam Abu Hanifa says there's zakah on anything that you produce. Not only that, even there's no nisab on it. So even if it's a teaspoon of anything that you produce, you have to pay zakah, on it. So that position, of course, we looked at it earlier on and we said that it is, outweighed. It does not have support of evidence. It goes against the evidences of the Sunnah, the Hadith that talk about, this issue. So the scholars that are opposed, that say that there's no zakah on urud al-tijara, they look at these evidences and say they are general, one, and two, the other ones that you're quoting, the hadith, they are da'if. They can't be used as evidence. So if the general cannot be used as evidence because it has more than one meaning, and cannot be said to be speaking to this urud al-tijara specifically, and the ahadith are da'if, the other ahadith that you're bringing are da'if, then bara'atu al-asl takes over. Bara'atu al-asl is original innocence, original lack of liability. That when a man is born, when a human being is born, he is free of liability. except the liability that we find in the Sharia. Once we don't find evidence in the Sharia to impose a liability on him, then we cannot impose a liability on him. So we get where they're coming from. They say the Quran is general. The verses mentioned in relation to these are general. They don't mention although the tijara. The ahadith are dying. So the man stays in his default position of not being liable. Now, so we go to the fourth. وروى البخاري ومسلم. This is a hadith that is متفق عليه. عن أبي هريرة, from Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه. We've taken this hadith before. قال, so because it's Bukhari and Muslim, nobody is arguing about whether it is authentic or not. So what will the what will the scholars who say that there's no zakah on urud al-tijara, what would they say? Let's finish reading that hadith. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه, from Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه, قال, he said, بعث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عمر, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم sent Umar bin al-Khattab على الصدقة, to go and collect zakah. فقيل, when he returned, he said, منع ابن جميل وخالد ابن والد والعباس عم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, said, these three people, Ibn Jamil, Khalid bin Walid, and Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they prevented us from taking zakah from them. I.e., they didn't give us zakah when we requested it from them. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما ينقم ابن جميل. Why is Ibn Jamil uncooperative? Why is he going against the institution of collecting zakah? He is not going against that institution for any reason other than إِلَّا أَنَّهُ كَانَ فَقِيرًا, other than he was poor. فَأَغْنَاهُ اللَّهُ, and Allah made him rich. This is a use of word that there's nothing that we can find that emboldened him to do that other than because Allah made him wealthy. I.e., people, when they are needy, they'll say, when I have this, I'll do that. When I have money, I'll build mosque, I'll do a lot of good things and things like that. But when they have it, they don't do those things. Some people, that is. They don't do those things. And rather than, they don't stop at that alone, they now begin to do the opposite, use the money to cause facade in the land. So when you look at it, what is causing them to do facade in the land? The money that Allah gave them. What is causing them to not spend on the path of Allah? The money that Allah has given them. So that which Allah has given them has become a fitna for them. So the Prophet ﷺ said that with regards to Ibn Jamil. وَأَمَّا خَالِدٌ فَإِنَّكُمْ تَظْلِمُونَ خَالِدًا. He said, as for Khalid, you people have wronged Khalid by requesting zakah from him, that is. قَدْ احْتَبَسَ أَدْرَعَهُ وَأَعْتَدَهُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. He has dedicated his war shields and his a'tad fi sabilillah. So it is this word a'tad that comes, that is a point of evidence. What is a'tad? A'tad is any, a'tad alat al-harb min silah wa dawab wa ghayriha. The a'tad are things used in war. Anything that is used in war, whether It is weapons or riding animals dedicated for war, or any other thing, whether they're clothing, whether they're guns, whether they are bullets, whether anything that, so long as it is used in war, it's called artad. It's called artad. And Allah says, وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ, and we have prepared for them عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا, a painful punishment. So preparation for what? The things that we prepare for what? For battle. So these things, Umar saw when he went to collect zakah from Khalid bin Walid. If Umar thought that they were personal effects, then he wouldn't have asked for zakah from them. The only thing that Umar bin Khattab could have thought was that these things were, a'tad were what? Trade goods. That's the only way that he could have asked for zakah from them. He saw, you saw things that could be, that could be termed as trade goods, and he asked for zakah from them, and from Khalid bin Walid, because of that. So the Prophet ﷺ came to Khalid's defense. He said he had put these things as a trust, fi-l-Islaam, as an endowment, as a war endowment. He had dedicated them to war. So they are not his property anymore. They are the property of the Muslim state. He's just holding them for the Muslim state. He had dedicated that these things are dedicated to battle. So there's no zakah to pay. If you pay zakah, where is it coming to? It's coming to Baitul Mal. These things are already in Baitul Mal. Khalid bin Walid is just holding them. So that's one interpretation that the scholars, gave to, that he had dedicated these things to battle, fi-sabilillah, as a trust, as an endowment. Some of the scholars say it could also mean, or the scholars generally say that it could also mean that you have wronged Khalid bin Walid by thinking bad of him, because he is someone that has dedicated his wealth to the war endowment. So for someone who has dedicated this amount of wealth to fi-sabilillah, if he has anything left that is zakatable and you ask him, he will give you, he will have given you. So that is another interpretation of the same thing that the scholars give to this. So وَأَمَّا الْعَبَّاسِ فَهِيَ عَلَيَّ وَمِثْلُهَا مَعَهَا. As for my uncle Abbas, then paying the zakah is upon me, because there's another hadith that we took a while back. Al-Abbas asked the Prophet ﷺ if he could pay his zakah in advance, and the Prophet ﷺ obliged him and collected it. So he said he didn't give you zakah because he had already paid not only for this year, he has paid for the following year too. So you collect it from me. So the point of reference here is a'tad, and we have explained, that those are things of war. And we explained why Umar, saying these things that can be used in war or that are used in war, could have, because war wasn't going on, he just went to Khalid and saw these things displayed there in his possession. So Man Khalid didn't bother to explain to him. Of course, he knows if he goes back to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ will explain to him. So the only reason, well, it is clear that Umar bin Khattab thought that there was zakah on them, and he said he has prevented us from collecting zakah. Told the Prophet ﷺ that. So the only reason was that he thought that they were trade goods. So that is on this. What do the to those who say that there's no zakah on trade goods? They say that this is speculative. That number one, in interpreting this, we have said that the scholars interpret what the Prophet ﷺ said, that you have wronged Khalid bin Walid. He has dedicated his a'tad fi sabilillah in one or two ways. So they say that there's no mention of urud al-tijara here. That you're saying that there could have been no reason where for Umar to think that these things was zakatable except that they were urud al-tijara. That is not in the text. And of course, it's not in the text. But Umar was not, he was a Khalifa after Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He was not a lay person in the community. He was a scholar amongst the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. And many of the things that he, thought should be, in place, Allah buttressed his thoughts and his suggestions by revealing, things about them. So he was an eminent scholar amongst the companions. So he knew what he was doing. And because of that, the Prophet ﷺ appointed him to go and collect sadaqah. The Prophet ﷺ wouldn't appoint someone to go and collect sadaqah if he wasn't proficient, if he wasn't knowledgeable. Now, number 5. So that is a good evidence that is specific in the understanding that follows it. That there is no way that Umar would have called, that would have asked Khalid bin Walid for zakah, except that these were urud al-tijara. So we're coming down from something that's totally general to this hadith that is meaning is specific. Its meaning is specific. Now, number 5, but the argument there is that the meaning, yes, is specific, but it is your meaning. It's not in the text. Number 5, وراء الشافعي وأحمد وعبد الرزاق, Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad, and Imam al-Razak in Musannaf al-Razak, and al-Daraqutni, Imam al-Daraqutni, all of them muhaddithun. عن أبي عمرو ابن حماس عن أبيه أنه قال, that he said, كنت أبيع الأدمى, I used to sell leather. فمر بي عمر بن الخطاب, Umar bin al-Khattab, the same Umar bin al-Khattab, radiyallahu anhu, he said, he passed by me. فقال لي, and he said to me, أدي صدقتي مالك, pay the zakah on your wealth, that is the leather that you're selling. فقلت يا أمير المؤمنين, O Amir of the Muslims. So he said this when he was Khalifa. This incident happened when Umar bin al-Khattab was a Khalifa. He said, إنما هو في الأدمى. He said, it's just leather that I'm selling, i.e. they're trade goods. فقال, Umar bin Khattab said, قومه, estimate it, the value, that is, estimate the worth of your leather that you are selling. ثم أخرج صدقتها. This should be أخرج. أخرج صدقتها. أخذ صدقته. Estimate it, value it, and then pay the zakat on it. So this is clear, the understanding of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ on this, the companion Umar ibn al-Khattab. This also the understanding of his son, Ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu. Inshallah, we'll get to that shortly on the topic. So Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, in his book Usul-Sunnah, one of the things he mentioned is, he said, Usul-Sunnati indana, the foundation of this Sunnah, of this religion of Al-Islam with us, is at-tamassuku bima kana alayhi ashabu rasul, is to cling stubbornly to that which the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam were upon, radiyallahu anhu. So if the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam hold a position, and we do not know of any companion amongst them who opposes that, then that is ijma' amongst the companions, and it is proof. It is proof not because the companions are a source of evidence. No, Allah revealed the Quran and the Hadith only. We know He revealed the Hadith. He said that Himself in the Quran. He said, ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا بَيَّانًا. We have revealed the Quran. We will make it stick in your heart. Then after that, it is also upon us to reveal the bayan, the explanation of the Quran. And that is the Hadith. And many ahadith, they're called Hadith al-Qudsi. The Prophet ﷺ will quote the words of Allah. And that's why they're called Hadith al-Qudsi. So Allah revealed revelations to the Prophet ﷺ. Some of them, He put them in the Quran. Some of them, He put them in the Hadith. Out of those He put in the Hadith, some of them, they are quotations of what Allah informed the Prophet ﷺ. Some of them, they are the Prophet ﷺ's words of the meaning of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him. So the first of those, the ones that are quotations, are what we call Hadith al-Qudsi, Hadith al-Qudsi. So the companions were not sources of legislation themselves. No. But when they are united on a thing, and there's ijma amongst them for that, then it means that they have evidence of it from their teacher, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Even if that specific evidence, we don't have it with us. So that is why the ijma of the companions, is taken as evidence. Not that in and of itself they are people who, give laws. No, even the Prophet ﷺ, in and of himself, he does not give, laws. It is Allah that, tells him what to do. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ. He does not speak of his own volition. So it is wahy that he speaks, either as Quran or Hadith. Now, so based on that understanding, this statement of Umar to him, that قَوِّمْهُ ثُمَّ أَخْرِجْ صَدَقَتَهُ, estimate it, or not estimate it, value it, get the exact value of your trade goods, the leather that you're trading in, and pay the sadaqah. So what do those, now this is clear, specific, not only a statement, but on a specific incident by a trader. And we see the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, Amirul Mu'mineen, Umar ibn al-Khattab, the one who was in the previous hadith. now making it clear that the understanding that we said could have been the only thing that he had to request sadaqah, zakah from Khalid bin Walid is actually it. That were actually correct. So what do they say about this hadith? Those scholars few scholars who say that there's no zakah on urud al-tijara. They say that Imam Ibn Hazm al-Andalusi, al-Zahiri, of the Zahiri, the school, the literary school of literarist school of thought, he says that this hadith is for a zakah that is compulsory but doesn't have a nisab. A spending that is compulsory that doesn't have a nisab. Because it says when you look at it, they are literarists. They said when you look at it, there's no mention of nisab here. For something to be regarded as zakah, we will know the nisab and we'll know what to extract from that wealth once it reaches or exceeds the nisab. For gold, the nisab is 85 grams. What do we extract from it? 2.5%. Same for silver. For farm produce, 5 awsuq is the nisab. Once it's reaches 5 awsuq, then we pay zakat after. So it said there's no mention of the from the nisab, the wealth. So we begin to see the defect in that position, because trade goods, as we explained to us, are excuses for gold and silver to grow, excuses to grow gold and silver. Because gold and silver, which are currencies, do not grow except we risk them in trade and business. This is the only reason why people engage in trade and business, or the average person engages in trade and business. So he risks it, buys things and sells them, buys it at a price here, goes to sell it at a higher price there, and gets back the initial thing that he had, which is gold and silver, or their representative in fiat money. So because they are just excuses, that's, the trade goods are just excuses for gold and silver. The nisab is the nisab of gold, of that which they're excuses for. That is gold and silver. Once they reach the nisab of either gold or silver, the one that is attained first, historically that will be silver, because historically silver is cheaper than gold, but that which is attained first, so that if any point in time gold becomes cheaper than silver, these things are not set in stone. They are based on demand. People have the weirdest taste at times, or weirdest demand at times. There's a mango I saw the other day in a news article from India that's several thousands worth in dirhams. It's a mango. People attach value to whatever it is that they attach to. Those who will buy it will buy it. It's because people are buying, that's why they're selling. So we'll leave it open like that, as many of the scholars have left it open. Adna nisabain. So this is the weakness of their position. Begin to see the crack in their position. Now, number 6. So this hadith, Sheikh Al-Albani says it is da'if, but many other scholars say that it is Hasan or authentic. Now, number 6, وعن عبد الرحمن ابن عبد القاري قال, he said, كنت على بيت المال. I was in charge of like the Ministry of Finance. زمان عمر بن الخطاب, during the time of the same Umar bin al-Khattab. فكان إذا خرج الأعطاء جمع أموال التجار. When he would collect, so when he would assess the things that people had offered, جمع الأموال, that is his zakah. جمع أموال التجار, he will collect he will gather the wealth of the traders, i.e. he will assess the wealth of the traders. ثم حسبها, he will value what they have. i.e. during the time of collecting zakah, you will assess, you will value the wealth, the trade goods of traders. غائبها وشاهدها, the things that are absent from their stores that they own, and the things that are present in their stores. So once they have milk over it, remember milk ownership is one of the things that are that must be present, conditions for payment of zakah. So if you have milk on it, even if you lend it out or you give it to someone or store it somewhere or whatever, but you can get it anytime you want, then you have milk and tasarruf over it. You're able to get it whenever you wish. So it will be counted as, as part of the things that will be assessed for your zakah. ثم أخذ الزكاة من شاهد المال عن الغائب والشاهد. So you will, so you have wealth that is present at the location, and you have wealth that is absent. You add both of them together to get a total, and you pay and you extract zakah from the total of that which is present of the trade goods and that which is absent of the trade goods. Now, so this hadith, Sahahahu Ibn Hazm. Ibn Hazm al-Andalusi, whose position is that, you do not pay zakah on trade goods. Even he says this hadith is authentic. So in Islam Q&A, they say, وَهَذِهِ الْأَدِلَّةِ بِمَجْمُوعِهَا تَدُلُ عَلَى صِحَّةِ الْحُكْمِ. They say these evidences that have been produced, they point to the authenticity, or the soundness rather, of the position that zakah is on trade goods. وَإِنْ كَانَ كُلُّ دَلِيلٍ مِنْهَا قَدْ يَكُنْ فِيهَا مُنَاقَشَةٌ. Even if each of the evidences that are being produced, there are opportunities for arguing against them, and we have presented those arguments, and where those arguments are wavy, like when the evidence is general, when the evidence is da'if, and when they are weak, as in when in the hadith of Umar bin al-Khattab in his going to get zakah from Khalid bin Walid, when they said the understanding that they could have been urud al-tijara is only is not in the text, and when that was actually proven by the following hadith for the companion who Umar bin al-Khattab during his khilafah told to pay zakat on the leather that he was selling, trade goods, and this last hadith. So, lakin ijtima' al-adila tu'tiha al-quwwah. So, whichever way you slice it, even if you say that it is da'if, the scholars have what they call as-sihhatu bi majmu'i turuq, making a hadith being authentic by by several hadith that are ordinarily individually weak, their weakness not being a severe weakness, being in their sum total being authentic because they buttress one another. So maybe this hadith is weak because there's someone in the chain of transmission that has a weak memory. He mixes up words at times. There's another person like that in another different chain that says the same thing. There's another person like that in another different chain that says the same thing. So these different, all of them the same thing. They will cause for the weakness of each individual hadith. It's not a severe one like it's a fabricator of hadith or is a liar or something, like that. No. Then you find that some of the scholars say that this is authentication of the hadith to be sahih or hasan, as the case may be, based on majmu' at-turuq, gathering of or confluence of their routes, by confluence of their routes. So this is where, so it said hatta naqala. So based on this, hatta naqala ibn Mundhir rahimahullah. So Imam ibn Mundhir rahimahullah narrated in his book that, or said in his book that there is ijma of the scholars on this. And this was before Ibn Hazm. So the companion of this opinion, Abdullah bin Umar bin al-Khattab, and there's a ijma on this. Then few scholars coming after that does not hurt that ijma in any way, because they are supposed to conform with the ijma. Once an ijma is formed, you follow. وَانْتَبَرَ قَوْلَ أَهْلِ الظَّاهِرِ. So, and the vast majority of the scholars, they hold the position of the Zahiriyya, like Ibn Hazm, and even people that are not Zahiriyya, but hold this position, like Sheikh Al-Albani, they hold their position, الَّذِي قَالُوا بِعَدَمِ وُجُوبِ الزَّكَاةِ فِيهَا, that say that there's no zakat in urud al-tijara. The vast majority اعتبره قولا شاذا خارجا عن الإجماع. They hold their position as shad, strange, خارجا عن الإجماع, and outside of the ijma. So it's not something that we go with. قال الشيخ الإسلام رحمه الله, Sheikh al-Islam Ahmad ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, it says وَالْأَئِمَّةُ الْأَرْبَعَةُ وَسَائِرُ الْأُمَّةِ, says the four imams and the vast majority of the ummah of Islam, إِلَّا مَنْ شَذَّ, except those who, the few who go against the ijma, مُتَّفَقُونَ عَلَى وُجُوبِهَا فِي عُرُوضِ التِّجَارَةِ, are united that I have a consensus that there is zakah on urud al-tijara. سواء كانت تاجر مقيما أو مسافرا, it is the same. Trade goods is trade goods. Whether the trader is someone trading in his place of residence, or musafiran, or he's trading on a journey. وسواء, so when they mention this, it points to maybe some of those who that there are some who make exception to this. I say, oh, if he's on a journey, there won't be zakah on it. If he's at home, there'll be zakah on it. There's no such thing. Zakah is zakah. It's on the wealth. So the person being is not on the person, it's on the wealth that the person owns. So the person being a traveler or being a resident does not, have any effect. وَسَوَاءً كَانَ مُتَرَبِّصًا, and it is the same if the trader is a daily trader or a mutarabbis. A mutarabbis is a speculator. وهو الذي يشتري التجارة وقت رخصها ويدخرها إلى وقت ارتفاع السعر. Is someone who will buy an item during when it's cheap, then you will store, waiting. That's why it's called mutarabbis. Is doing tarabbus. Is waiting for when the price will become high. So when the when the price is high, then he will sell. أو مديرا كالتجار الذين في خوانيت, or is a daily trader like the traders that you find in the shops around. So سواء كان غزا من جديد أو لبيس, whether he is selling clothes that are new or second-hand, أو طعاما من قوت أو فاكهة, or is selling, staple foods or fruits, it doesn't matter. أو أذن أو غير ذلك, or whether it's selling leather or other than that. أو كانت آنية, or is selling utensils, كالفخار والنهو, or expensive ones or other than that. أو حيوانا من رقيق الخيل, or is selling living things, animals, animate things like slaves, or is selling horses. أو بغال أو حمير, or is selling mules or donkey. أو غنم معلوفة, or is selling sheep that's that are fed. Remember, the ones that we pay zakah on are not ma'lufa. They are free range animals. So if you have sheep and you feed them yourself, then there's no zakah on them. There will only be zakah on them if they are trade goods, like the Sheikh is saying here. If they are ma'luf, you are feeding them, but you are not going to trade in them. They become trade goods, then you pay zakah on them. Or they are free range. So if they are free range, eating what Allah has grown, you leave them, they go to eat and come back, then there's zakah on them. But if they are ma'lufa and you keep them as pets, you don't intend to, sell them, or you just keep them for your own feeding. Many people do that, have a couple of goats or something like that. And when they are old enough, they slaughter them and eat, then there's no zakah on this. أو غير ذلك, or other than that, فالتجارات هي أغلب أموال أهل الأمصار الباطنة, كما أن الحيوانات الماشية هي أغلب أموال الظاهرة. So whatever type of wealth they are, the trade goods are the most preponderant out of the wealth of people in the cities, the visible wealth of people that are, the hidden wealth of people that are in the city. And i.e., in terms of their value is hidden, and it changes, and it can the same thing can be sold for different prices at different stores at the same time. However, Mashia are the preponderant wealth of the wealth of the people, by the preponderant wealth of the people that are apparent, i.e., also in terms of number. So when you are paying zakah on camel, when you're paying zakah on sheep and on cows, you are not paying zakah based on their value, which is something hidden, and it differs. You are paying the zakah based on their numbers. So once camels reach 5 in number, then they are zakatable. When cows reach 30 in number, they are zakatable. Once goats and sheep reach 40 in number, then they are zakatable. So this is where they stop on the issue. So from this, it becomes clear that the evidences support clearly the payment of zakat on trade goods. What is the nisab? The nisab is the nisab of that which they are used as an excuse for. The nisab of that which they are used as excuse for, which is gold and silver. And what do we extract from them? 2.5% ruble ushur, which is 1/4 of a tenth, which is 1/40, which is 2.5%. Inshallah, we'll stop here. Are there any questions? Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Barakallahu fikum. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.